Arsenal won't win it because they've never won it before. They can't win it because they're bottle jobs. And with a manager like Mikel Arteta, it's ridiculous to think otherwise. That is the opinion of football fans who either one, don't know ball, or two, despise Arsenal. Now hit the like button, please. Get yourself subscribing. Turn that bell notification button on, the little bell next to the subscribe button, and please hype the video up. But it's been an interesting week for Arsenal. And I myself, earlier today, spoke about how I think Liverpool are back. And I do think Liverpool are back. I think they're going to start winning a lot more games. I think they're going to be a lot harder to beat. I believe Arne Slot has made lots of changes. And I stand by what I said in the video. There is a good to very good chance that they still win the league because we're 10 games in. I don't think it is illogical because there is the possibility that Arsenal could have a bad patch, that Arsenal could suffer bad injuries, that, I mean, it just takes one. This weekend, I don't think Arsenal lose, by the way. I think Arsenal win. But if Arsenal were to lose, let's say Saliba's sent off in the opening 5 minutes for a silly tackle, gives away a penalty, Sunderland score, game ends 1-0, Liverpool go away to City and win, there's suddenly 4 points gap, 11 games in. That is not insurmountable that Liverpool couldn't overturn that, considering they play each other again in the season. But Arsenal are rightfully the favourites for the Premier League as it stands. So I'm not going to yield on that. I'm not going to sit here and say the title race is over, Arsenal winning it at a canter, it's going to be easy street for them. I don't think it will. I said this earlier today, I said it earlier in the season. I think that for Arsenal to win the Premier League, it's got to be one of the best managerial performances and one of the best team performances in Premier League history, because I still think this Liverpool team's brilliant. I know they've had a bad run. I know they've been laughed at. I know their squad's been ripped into, their manager's been ripped into. And they were getting things wrong. But they got things wrong early in the season, and I personally believe they'll turn it round. I personally believe they'll become a very dangerous and very good team again this season. But that doesn't mean Arsenal are not going to win the league. It doesn't mean Arsenal are not going to win the Champions League. I said at the beginning of this video, a lot of people have this, well, they always bottle it, so why should I think they can win it this year? They never won the Champions League, so how are they going to win it this year? This, for me, is very low IQ, scraping the bottom of the barrel football analysis. It doesn't even stack up, because that logic dictates that City should never have won the league, that City should never have won the Champions League, that PSG should never have won the Champions League. I mean, more teams in the last 3 decades have won the Champions League for the first time than have retained it. So, ironically, when it comes to the Champions League, more teams have won it for the first time in their history than have retained it, because only Real Madrid have retained it in that period. I think. Maybe one other team did, and I've missed out on that. But in the last 20, 30 years, I can't think of anyone else who's done it. But there have been a handful of, quite a few teams that have won it for the first time. Now, from my point of view and perspective, I've said that now, I've got to check it. I think that's true. I read that stat. And now I've said it. You know when you read something and it isn't your information and you say it out loud? Let's have a little look at that. Champions League winners. I'm going to go and check that whilst we're talking. Because PSG are one of them, right? But let's just look at it here in the last few years. So you've had PSG have won it. So PSG won it for the first time in that period. Chelsea won it for the first time in that period. City won it for the first time in that period. No, Porto won it before. So I've said in the last 20, 30 years, let's go back to 1995. Where are we at? There we go. Who else has won it in that time? Dortmund. I think Dortmund had won it. I think Dortmund won it in that time too. So 4. Maybe Dortmund. No, Dortmund. They've only won it once. So there we go. 4 teams. 4 teams in that period have won it for the first time. Only Real Madrid that I can see retained it. Yes. Real Madrid retained it 16, 17, 18. That's it. I thought so, right? I knew I was right, but I wanted to double check. Yeah, so 1 team has retained it, 4 teams have won it for the first time. So that logic that Arsenal can't do it, it's stupid. The debate is never about the actual facts, which is, are they good enough to? Do they score enough? Are they good enough defensively? Can they control games? Does the manager have the squad? Does the manager know how to use the squad? They're the conversations, not bottled it before, they'll bottle it again. But why would they bottle it? Is that because the manager isn't good enough? Well, let's get into a conversation about why he isn't good enough. People don't want to do. A lot of people don't want to do that anymore. The squad. Let's talk about why the squad isn't good enough. People don't want to do that anymore. They're kind of basically honing into superstitions, if you like. It's like a Stevie Wonder song. They're very superstitious. The writing's on the wall. Is it? They've conceded 5 goals, I think. No, not even 5 goals. No goals in the Champions League. And in the Premier League, I'm now even getting confused myself. Maybe it's 5 shots on target. Just 3 in the Premier League. So in the main 2 competitions they're in, 3 goals conceded in 14 games. None from open play whatsoever. 1 counter-attack and 2 set pieces. And I want to say that's 2 set pieces in the Prem. Yeah, Voldemar's a set piece and Soboslai's free kick. They could win it all. And I heard on TalkSport earlier today, they were speaking about Arsenal not maintaining what they're doing right now with goals being conceded. And it's very hard to maintain the levels they're at now. Okay, and the reason I tell you that is there's only... I'm going to go through these numbers with you here because this is really, really important. The lowest goals ever conceded in the Premier League was 15. That was by Chelsea in 2004-05. They're currently tracking to only concede 13 goals. So is it likely they're going to have some periods where they concede a little bit more? Yes. You then look at the next best was Arsenal in the 99 season, United's treble winning year. Arsenal only conceded 17 goals. Chelsea in 05-06 only conceded 22. Arsenal in 03-04, that's the invincible season, 26 goals. Liverpool in 2018-19, when they come second, only conceded 22 goals. City in that same season, only 23 goals. So Arsenal are currently on course to sit somewhere in amongst those 6 sides. So this notion that what they're doing isn't sustainable, again, it's arguably a fact, but it's an overstatement. And what I mean by it's an overstatement is that even if the goals conceded per game levels rise slightly, it's still going to sit. They're still going to be one of the best teams ever defensively if they maintain this level, even if the numbers slightly go up. There is no sign that they're going to suddenly become a team that is hemorrhaging goals left, right and centre. There's no sign they're going to suddenly become a team that is hemorrhaging chances left, right and centre. Last year they did quite a bit, and they've just gone up a level this year. They're getting that balance right. They're dominating, they're pinning teams back, they're not overcommitting at the wrong times. They've been wonderfully balanced in that way. There is no doubt about it whatsoever. And in the Champions League, right now, there are teams that could beat Arsenal because it's the Champions League. Bayern Munich have got the capabilities over 2 legs of beating them. Okay? The English teams have the capability of beating them over 2 legs. They drew with City this year. They lost the game to Liverpool. They can lose. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, I'd see no one in the Champions League beating them. But I do think Arsenal are a team and are the team that everybody wants to avoid right now. Because they seem to be them and Bayern Munich. No goal. I don't think either have conceded any goals. Or am I lying here? I thought I knew this. I've got to check it. No, Bayern Munich conceded 3 goals in the Champions League. Arsenal, none. Arsenal have scored 11. Bayern Munich have scored slightly more on 14. Their goal difference is identical on 12. Now, you could argue Bayern have had the harder start because they've played Paris Saint-Germain and they've also played Chelsea in that period. I want to say somebody else fairly difficult they played as well, I think. But they've had a slightly harder start. The next game is Arsenal-Bayern Munich. And I think that's going to be a massive, massive acid test. A huge acid test indeed. But what I will say, and I'll stand on, is this idea that they can't win these trophies because of previous poor years or having never won the Champions League before. I just reject that notion. Unless you're going to back it up with why the players aren't good enough, why the system isn't good enough, why the manager isn't good enough, why any of these things. You've got to come with something tangible. It can't just be, because it happened before. Because history proves that's nonsense. History proves that's nonsense. I want your thoughts and opinions on this. Because I feel for such a great start to the season, I feel like there's a lack of respect being put on Arsenal. And you can praise Bayern Munich, you can praise Man City, you can praise Liverpool. Doesn't mean you can't praise Arsenal. Nah, they can't do it. Those teams have done it before, they won't. I don't understand it. That's like suggesting that Porto have a genuinely good chance of winning the Champions League compared to Arsenal because they've won it before. Doesn't make sense. Newcastle won the League Cup last year, hadn't won a trophy in, 50, 60, 70 years. It's a new dawn. It's a new stage. But I want your thoughts, I want your opinions on it, people. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Peace!